So metropolitans, canons 435 to 438. In every province there is an archdiocese with an archbishop who is the metropolitan of the province. In every province there is an archdiocese with an archbishop who is the metropolitan of the province. Canon 435. The other dioceses are called suffragans. The other dioceses are called suffragans. So the metropolitan does not have functions of direct government in the diocese of the province, in other provinces. So he doesn't have any direct function, but he must watch over them and inform the Roman Pontiff concerning any abuses that are introduced or that are there in the dioceses under him, other suffragans. He intervenes also in the nomination of the diocesan administrator. We said, in the election of the diocesan administrator, he intervenes. If the College of Consultors fail to elect the diocesan administrator. So he intervenes also in the nomination of the diocesan administrator when a diocese is vacant. In certain cases, other functions can be conferred on the metropolitan by the Holy See. Canon 436. Just see the Canon 436. Within the suffragan dioceses, the metropolitan is competent, not the direct administration or governance, but other competences, to see that faithful and ecclesiastical discipline are carefully observed and to notify the Roman Pontiff if there is any abuses. He has to inform to the Roman Pontiff if there are abuses in the suffragan diocese. Number 2, for a reason approved beforehand by the Apostolic See, to conduct a canonical visitation if the suffragan bishop has neglected it. So at least once in 5 years he should make a pastoral visitation. If he is not doing that, if the Vatican Holy See gives him permission, he can make the visitation. Number 3, to appoint a diocesan administrator in accordance with the Canon 421 paragraph 2 and 425 paragraph 3. So if the College of Consultors fail to elect the diocesan administrator, he can appoint. Paragraph 2, where circumstances require it, the Apostolic See can give the metropolitan special functions and power to be determined in a particular law. So other special functions he can put into practice, special powers are given to him. Paragraph 3, the metropolitan has no other power of governance over suffragan dioceses. He can, however, celebrate sacred functions in all churches as if he were a bishop in his own diocese. Okay, he has the power to celebrate sacred functions, provided if it is the cathedral church, the diocesan bishop has been previously notified. Other churches, okay, he can go and celebrate, but if it is the cathedral, he has to get the permission. But normally other churches also he will intimate the local bishop, and those who want to invite him for the Eucharistic celebration, they will go through the local ordinary. but the canon law gives him power. He can go and celebrate anywhere except the cathedral of the diocese. Canon 437, paragraph 1. The metropolitan is obliged to request the pallium from the Roman pontiff, either personally or by proxy, within 3 months of his episcopal consecration, or if he has already been consecrated of his canonical appointment. The pallium signifies the power which, in communion with the Roman Church, the metropolitan possesses by law in his own province. What is pallium? Yeah, it's, that which is worn by the archbishop. So it has got a history. We know the saint and martyr, St. Agnes. So she was a martyr and a patron saint of purity. So on her feast day is the customary that 2 white lambs are offered on the altar of the Basilica of St. Agnes. And afterwards those 2 lambs are given to the Holy Father, to the Pope. And the wool that is taken from those 2, every year 2 they will offer. Those lambs, they make this pallium. It's a plural is pallia, Latin. And they are given to the metropolitans. And as we read in the canon, within the 3 months of episcopal consecration, he has to get from the Holy Father, either directly. So normally they will be organizing a meeting for all the metropolitans. That time the Holy Father will give. If he is not able to go, through the proxy, one who is delegated. So on behalf of the metropolitan, he will collect. So he has to get within the 3 months of his consecration. So that is in short with regard to the metropolitan. So the paragraph 2, the metropolitan can wear the pallium in accordance with the liturgical laws in any church of the ecclesiastical province over which he presides, but not outside the province, not even with the assent of the diocesan bishop. No. Paragraph 2, if the metropolitan is transferred to another metropolitan see, he requires a new pallium. Okay, same thing he cannot. For example, the metropolitan of Hyderabad is transferred to the metropolitan of Visakhapatnam. So after going there, he should request for another one. Not same thing what he is wearing in metropolitan of Hyderabad. So that's what the canon speaks. So next, particular councils. Canons 439 to 446. Particular councils. Particular councils are those which gather the bishops of a given territory. Bishops of a given territory. If the territory is that of a conference of bishops, it is called plenary. Canon 439. If the territory is that of a conference of bishops, it is called plenary council. If it is that of a province, it is called provincial council. Canon 440. Is it clear? 2 types of councils. So plenary council is what? If the territory is that of a conference of bishops. If it is that of a province, it is called provincial council. The plenary council is organized by the conference of bishops. Plenary council is organized by the conference of bishops with the previous approval of the apostolic see. Canon 441. The provincial council is organized and presided over by the metropolitan. Canon 442. So in the conference of bishops, there can be one or more than one metropolitans. Okay. In the province level, one in that area. So who is allowed to preside the metropolitan in province council or provincial council? Diocesan vicars, some superiors of institutes of consecrated life, and societies of apostolic life, rectors and deans of universities and seminaries, so diocesan vicars, some superiors of institutes of consecrated life and societies of apostolic life, rectors and deans of universities and seminaries, etc., are to be called to participate but with a consultative vote only. And other priests and faithful can also be called to participate with a consultative vote. 443 paragraph 4. So Canon 443 gives the description of who should be the participants in the council. Okay. 443 paragraph 1 speaks about the bishops who exercise an office in the territory have a right to participate with a deliberative vote. And 443 paragraph 2, other bishops who are found there, so titular bishops or auxiliary bishop or bishops emeritus, they also can participate. So other bishops who are found there can also be called, and in this case they also have a deliberative vote. 443 paragraph 2. So a person who is called to a council is bound to participate if he does not have a legitimate impediment. So if anyone is called to participate, he can go and participate, provided he doesn't have a impediment, legitimate impediment, of which he must inform the president. If he has got any impediment, he should inform the president when he is called. So if someone is not able to be present, one who is called, then he should inform the president that he is not able to participate, or he can send a proxy on his behalf. and they have only the consultative vote. So who have the deliberative vote? The bishops, those who have the dioceses, and other bishops who are in the diocese. Only they have the deliberative vote, and all others have only consultative votes. So the deliberations of a particular council cannot be promulgated until all the acts are reviewed by the Holy See. They should not be promulgated unless they are reviewed by the Holy See. And when the Holy See reviews and gives permission, then the council can promulgate them. After which it belongs to the council to promulgate them. Canon 446. So next, the Conference of Bishops. The conferences of bishops or Episcopal Conference. Canons 447 to 459. In contrast with councils, either plenary or provincial council, in contrast with councils, the Conference of Bishops is a permanent organism. Which gathers the bishops of an entire nation or territory. Which gathers the bishops of an entire nation or territory. So India is a big nation. It's too big to have only one conference. Okay. As we have a conference of the bishops of Latin Rite and Syro-Malabar Rite, and one common conference, CBCI, CCBI. Okay. Bishops of an entire nation or territory, for the purpose of exercising together some pastoral functions, and promoting a coordinated pastoral action in the service of the churches entrusted to them. Canons 447 and 448. So it is born in 19th century, Conference of Bishops, born in the 19th century. The conferences have received a great impulse from the Second Vatican Council. The conferences have received a greater impulse or importance from the Second Vatican Council, which asked that they be constituted in those places where they did not yet exist. In those places where they did not yet exist, and that under conditions they could make binding decisions. So wherever it is not there, the council has to have it, to constitute it, and they can make their own binding decisions. Christus Dominus, CD 37 and 38 number. It solely belongs to the Holy See to erect. It belongs to the Holy See to erect, modify, or suppress conferences of bishops. It belongs to the Holy See to erect, modify, or suppress the conferences of bishops, which have a canonical juridical personality. They have canonical juridical personality. Canon 449. Every conference develops its own statutes. Every conference develops its own statutes, which must be reviewed by the Apostolic See. The statutes must be examined by the Apostolic See. Canon 451. All bishops who exercise a function in the territory, all bishops who exercise a function in the territory and those who by law are linked to a diocesan bishop, and those who by law are linked to a diocesan bishop are members of the Conference of Bishops by law. Are members of the Conference of Bishops by law. So these are the members in the Conference of Bishops. Pontifical legates and bishops who do not have a function in the territory, pontifical legates and bishops who do not have a function in the territory are not members by law. So all the bishops who exercise a function in the territory and all the bishops those who are linked to the diocesan bishop are the members by law. But pontifical legates and other bishops, they do not have membership by law, but they can, provided if it is mentioned in the statutes. The provision is given by the Code of Canon Law. The normative competence of the conference is not general. Normative competence, so issuing norms, this competence of the conference is not general. They can issue norms only in matters expressly prescribed in the universal law. They can issue norms only in matters expressly prescribed in universal law. If it is specially prescribed in the universal law, or by special mandate of the Holy See. If the Holy See gives permission by special mandate, they can issue norms. Canon 455, paragraph 1. Canon 455, paragraph 1. Decisions on other matters do not bind the individual bishops. Decisions on other matters do not bind the individual bishops unless they are made unanimously. Unless they are made unanimously. Canon 555, paragraph 4. For a normative decision to be binding, so if the decision to be effective as norm, at least 2/3 of the members of the conference, at least 2/3 of the members of the conference who enjoy a deliberative vote, must actually vote. And then it obtains the recognitio. The recognitio. Is a Latin term. Then it must obtain and recognize. It's recognized after having voted and obtained 2/3 majority, and that norm is said to be recognized, and after which it will be promulgated. Canon 455, paragraph 2. As a permanent institute, the Conference of Bishops has an internal organization. So Conference of Bishops is a permanent institute, and it has got its own internal organization. For example, president, vice president, secretary, permanent council, and various commissions, etc. The Conference of Bishops as an internal organization: president, secretary, permanent council, various commissions, etc. However, only the plenary assembly can make important decisions. Only the plenary assembly can make important decisions. There also exist organizations that serve to facilitate relations between the Conference of Bishops of the same geographical area. For example, Latin America, Europe, etc. They have a different juridical configuration. According to the case. Canon 559.